This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let me just have a brief thing again, because it started recording this now. So integers means integers are the positive numbers, the negative numbers without decimal points. So it is up to infinity as per mathematics, infinity. So coming to floating point numbers, the numbers which are formed by the integer part, the decimal point, and the fractional part. So something like 85.75, something like this. And complex numbers are the numbers which have the real part and the imaginary part. So these come under the numeric literals. So when I come to Boolean values, so Boolean values have only two possibilities. One is true and one is false. So whenever I say a Boolean is nothing but true and false. So in languages like C, we have only 0 or 1. So, but as I've told you, Python is also a language which is derived from already existing languages like C, Java, and all. So, so now the transformation has come. So now 1 is true and false is 0. So that is what it is. So true and false. So these are the Boolean literals. And when coming to string literals, so Python is rather a powerful tool, so which can handle strings in variety of ways. So whenever I say strings, so if you usually we used to call a character as something like this, a. So a, let me say hash. So all this we used to say as a character set. So when I say a character set, so a character set is nothing but alphabets, numbers, special characters, or you can say symbols. Okay, so alphabets like A to B, sorry, A to Z, and small a to Z, all this. So numbers which are formed by the combination of 0 to 9. So all this individually is known as a character. So all this stuff we know already, but still, okay, 0 to 9. So hash, even space. So whatever we used to have, everything we put in a single inverted comma, so that we used to call as a character. So now what is a string then? A string is nothing but combination of characters. So for example, if I say ABC hash, usually our passwords and also they'll be asking, so to put it in various combinations. So that is what is nothing but a string. So whenever I say string, usually up to now we know that it is represented using double quotes. But Python is so powerful that you can simply use a single inverted comma in order to store the string, something like this. So this is also a string. So you can also use triple single quotations in order to store the string. The same thing, of course, again. So this is something like, and when you can also use this symbol. This is nothing but triple double quotes. So all this stuff is called as a string. Okay. So of course, everything has its own powerful things, because this can be shared in multiple lines. So these two can be shared in multiple lines. That is what the matter is. So multiple lines we can have. So we can use them according to our convenience later. So these are nothing but the literals. So just let me just review everything again. So numeric literals and floating point literals and sorry, numeric. Under numeric only we have integers, floats, and complex. And when coming to Boolean, so we have already, I told you, true and false, and strings. So these are the strings. So these are the constants. So these are the things that we will be going on with the data throughout our course. So no other new literals will be coming, no other new constants will be coming. Okay, so this is about the literals. So whenever I talk about literals, hope you're understanding.
Yeah.
Manisha, Kalyani, and Who's the other one? Okay. So literals. So basically, whenever I talk about literals, okay, as I've told you, for constants is one thing, and and one more thing, it is nothing but the data part. I told you already. So data part. So whenever I say data part, so simply I cannot, for example, I'm using now here Jupyter I'm using. So I can even use Spider also, but Jupyter is a better one to for training purpose. So whenever I say, for example, you take any of the data. So what is this kind of data? Integer. Okay. So can you reuse it simply? You can't, right? So definitely for reuse, we definitely have to put a variable. Okay. So here I call a as a variable. So whenever I talk about a variable is nothing but a memory location. Okay. Next topic that we are going to discuss is nothing but a variable. So whenever I talk about a variable is nothing but a memory location inside RAM. So what is a variable? A variable is a memory location inside the RAM. So whenever I say, just in the previous example, I said a is equal to 78. So what happens? A variable will be created and it will be assigned with 78. Okay. So you can reuse this a again and again. So according to your convenience. So that is what is a variable. So simply saying a variable is a memory location inside a RAM, a temporary one. So which we studied in our what is RAM and all, we know already. Okay. So what is a variable? A variable is a memory location inside the RAM, which will be wiped off whenever your program is done. Okay. So that is what the variable is. Now coming to uh, the variable part. So whenever I talk about variables, I can simply hold a is equal to 78. So I can have b is equal to 78.56. I can even have my complex number 3 plus 2j. So this is my complex number. And and I think I've told you that it is derived from other programming languages. But whenever you talk about the other programming languages, so this was not the style we used to have. So we used to have something like this. We used to have something like int a is equal to 78. We used to have something like float b is equal to 78.56, something in this style we used to have. But whenever I talk about this, these are known as the data types. So whenever I talk about the data types are nothing but the ones which will provide the variable, a memory, the range, and the type. So whenever I talk about a data type is a, I can say it's a keyword. It's a keyword which will give memory to the variable, the range to the variable, and the type to the variable. But whenever you see this, uh, I did not put any int or anything because Python is dynamically typed language. Python is dynamically typed language. So dynamically typed in the sense, I'm not saying that it doesn't have a data type. It doesn't have a static data type. So whenever I say C, Java, C++, they used to have static data types. So static data types in the sense, whenever we want to put any value into the variable, so we need to explicitly put the data type. So but in Python, we don't have to, in Python or R, we don't have to put dynamically the values. So whenever I say a, so don't think that a doesn't have any type. So a will have a type. So let me introduce you one small function here. So what is the function and all? Will I'll let you know. But let me tell you what is a function is in simple words. A function is nothing but which performs an activity, and may or may not return some value. So whenever I say function, a function is nothing but a part of the program or a component of the program which will perform some activity, What is a function? How do you define a function and all? We'll see later, not a problem. So which performs a function, performs a task, and while performing a task, it will return, or it may return, or it may not return any value. So for example, here I'm going to look at the type function. So whenever I talk about a type function here, so let me just say type. A function always takes a, not always, may or may not take a parameter. So this a is here a parameter. So what is a basically? So you told a is a variable. Now you are saying parameter. So different things you are discussing. Yes, it depends on the context where you use it. So here I'm using, in this context it is a variable. In this context it is a parameter. So whenever I am passing it in a function, it is called as a parameter. Hope you are understanding. If at all, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. If at all anything is there, please let me know. Yeah. Okay. So
Sure.
whenever I say type of a, I'll just run the code. So once I run the code, so type of a I got as int. Sir, you did not specify any int or anything here, but how did we get it? So that is what the function is going to do for me. So what is the function doing for me? The function is returning. As I've told you, what is a function? A function is the one which will perform a activity or performs a task. It may take parameters. A function is the one which performs a task, which may take parameters and return something. So here, what it is returning basically, it is returning the type. So if I have to define a type function in simple words, I'll simply write type function returns the type of the data. Returns the type of the data. So what is the type of the data here? Int. Okay. In the same way, if I want to know the type of b, so float. Okay, so where are this float int are coming from? So when we go back, so these are nothing but the literals. So what it is saying exactly? So in my data type definition, what I've told you, a data type is nothing but which will provide a variable. It's the memory location. We don't have to worry about memory much in Python programming, because max memory it will be giving, of course, in bytes. Uh, so we'll come back to that later, not a problem. So it will give the range, and it will also give the type, as I've told you. So whenever I'm talking about the data types. So these are nothing but so int, float are nothing but the data types. So now let me have a list of data types that are available for us. Okay. So first let me put the data types into categories. Then we'll go for each and everything. So now I think you understood. So let me ask you a few questions uh, to make myself comfortable. So uh, Python supports dash data types. Python supports dash data types. Can anyone answer this?
Integer, floating.
No, no. Put it in one word. Python supports dynamic data types.
Oh, dynamic, yeah.
Dynamic data types. So Python supports dynamic data types. Okay. So because what you said is right, but still we did not discuss what are the data types, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, Python supports dynamic data types. It is not to embarrass you or anything as such. For a little bit of interactivity. That's it. Okay, so let me just list out. So what is the data type as per the definition?
What you ask?
What is the data type? So somebody if ask you what is the data type? Okay, so actually we learned what is a literal today, right? So what is a literal? Already you told it. It's a constant.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what is a variable? A variable is nothing but
Memory location.
it's a memory location. Very good. And now my question is, what is a data type? Already this also we just discussed. Am I going fast or is it fine with you?
For me, it is fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. What about others?
It's good, Virendra.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So data type is nothing but which I've told you already, right? So which defines what type of data, and the memory of the data and the range of the data. Okay, so data type which will represent the type of the data, the memory of the data and the range of the data. So the data type is the one. So as I've told you, Python supports dynamic data type. So whenever I say dynamic, so it is not only about uh, variable without declaration of any type. It is all about taking at the runtime. So whenever I'm saying a is equal to 78, it is at the runtime. It is taking as int, means it is by in a dynamic way. It is accepting an integer. A is accepting an integer. So that is also part of the dynamism. Okay. Now let us come to the data types. So whenever I talk about data types, the first one that you see is none type. So you might be surprised what is none. So none, as you can simply, okay, I should put it in small. So none. So basically, what do you mean by none? Normal basic English or anything? None means nothing, right? So in the same way, the none data type also represent an object. None represent an object that does not contain any value. That does not contain any value. Something similar to null, if you remember in Java, if you have anyone went through with Java, so null. So something similar, but not exactly. The usage of this is a little bit different. So we'll not be talking about this right now. I don't want to confuse you much. So whenever the use of none is will come, so then we'll definitely use it. Okay, contain any value. So what is a none data type? A none data type represent an object that does not contain any value. So very important. None is one of the important things usually ignored, but it is better to know. So what is none data type? A none data type is the one which represents an object that does not contain any value. Okay, so this is the first data type that we first category, let me say. And next category that we are talking about is numeric types. Don't get confused with the literals and the data type. So the purpose of the literals is different and the purpose of the data type is different, but they are internally connected. Okay, so how they are internally connected? Okay, let me tell you. So variable is equal to okay, let me put constant or nothing but the literal. Variable is equal to constant, and this, depending on this constant, the data type of the variable is decided. Okay, so that is why don't get confused with this numeric type and that one. So this is literal. So numeric types, and then coming to sequences. And okay, let me make a note by using that. So first is none, then it is numeric types, numeric types. Painter pen is next. Okay, no. So next is sequences. Next is set, and next one. So we will have each and everything again, set, and we'll have mappings. Okay, so these are the types that we are going to discuss in detail now. So none, already I told you, none is the one which represents the object that does not contain any value. So first, let me talk about the numeric types. So under numeric types, so what are the numeric literals that we have seen? Numeric literals that we have seen?
Integer, float.
Yes, integer and integer, float, and complex, right? So in the same way, now now we are going to see under numeric types, int, float, and complex. So what are the three integer type that we are going to see? Int, float, and complex. So already I have given you the example also. So here type of C. So type of C, when I say, it is nothing but the complex. So these are the types of numeric. Okay, so you can do all kind of calculations and all. That's not required right now. And suppose I want to convert. So again, for example, if I have something like, okay, a is equal to 78. So now I want to convert that a into a float value. So now, for example, I'll say so usually what is the int. Okay. So now what I'll do is so float of d, so it will get converted into float. So f is equal to 25.6. So whenever I say int of f, so what is happening with f? Can anyone tell me what is happening with f?
It's just taking the integer value of the
Yes, it
value.
is just taking the only the integer part of
F.
f. Okay, so the type of f is still float because the conversion we have done. So this is basically converting one type into the other. Okay, so for example, if I am saying this was we are missing. So now if I say type of k, so what will be the type of k here? So I'm converting this we were not assigning that mistake. So int of f. So whenever I say int of f, so what I'm doing, I'm converting a type into the other by using explicit conversion. So this type of conversion is called as explicit conversion. Okay, so explicit conversion. So explicitly I'm converting this f value. So whenever I'm converting this, it is losing some data. So why it is losing some data? Because as I've told you, so what is integer? Integer is nothing but a negative or a positive number. Okay, so what I'm saying 25.6 means I'm declaring a float value. So this is the integer part and this is the floating part. So whenever I'm talking about conversion, so what I'm converting this into int. So if I'm converting this into int, only integer part is taking into the consideration. Okay, so that is what this is being done here. Okay, so what I'm internally doing, internally converting this f by using the explicit conversion. Okay, so hope you understand. So why we are talking about this conversion right here means, so these conversions are quite common in our Python and so. So whenever we are doing conversion means I can convert into float and everything because all have the same kind of precedence. So whenever I say numeric, so in numeric we have int, float, and complex numbers. And then next we are coming to sequences. So whenever we are talking about sequences, so under sequences, the first thing that we have is str. So any guesses what is str? Any guess what str may be?
String.
A wild guess. Yeah, it's a string, exactly. It's a string. So whenever I say string, so what are the types that a string can be put? Just go back. 15 or 20 minutes. How many types I can represent a string? I can represent a string like this. I can represent a string like this. I can represent a string like this, and I can even represent a string in this way. Okay, so what is the basic difference between these two and these two?
The first two are in one line and the
Yeah,
second
in a
two can be
single line,
multi-line. Yeah.
and this can be multiple lines. That is a basic difference between, but everything is a string. Okay, let me go back to the environment and just try these things. Okay, let me put str1 is equal to a single character you can take, or you can take multiple characters. So how can I say how to know the type? What is the function that we are going to use for type? Type of
Variable.
str. Yeah. So type of variable, or okay, type of variable, of course, but in the functions context, it is known as the parameter. Okay. So now let me try to put so it will be saying error. It will be giving an error because it is not accepted, right? So end of line while scanning string literal. So this is regarded as the end of the line, and it is syntactically a mistake. So this is not accepted. Okay. So that is what I was saying, single line and multiple lines. So now let me put str2 is equal to again the same thing with this also. Okay, unindent does not match any outer, so same kind of thing, but a different error. So what is indentation and all, we'll get to know, very important. str3. Okay, let me put str3 is equal to. So now not at all a problem, because not at all issue with this, because it is in a single line. So if you see here, how I put this in double quotes, but how it is taking in single quotes. So not at all a problem. So that kind of representation or this kind of representation, not at all an issue. Okay. So when coming to multiple lines, so what all will accept multiple lines? I told you. So
One question. So
yeah,
when you given the string in a quote, so that means the value of that is ABC only, right? Not with the quote.
no, not with the code. Okay, not with the code, exactly. So
Yeah,
it doesn't take the code. The code is just the representation. See, because I'll just go back to here. Now, for example, I told you in the character set, right? So when I say character set, so what all are taking a hash? So just imagine if I have 9. Okay, so 9 without quotes. 9 with quotes comes under the string data type. Okay, so 9 without quotes,
value.
9, it will be an integer, right? It will be an integer value, isn't it? It will be an integer value. Hope you are understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there it
Yeah.
is. I mean, when you run that one, so it gave the result in quote. So that's what I was thinking. Why it gave the quote also, the single quote.
No, it is just a representation. It is not included, basically. It is not included. The ABC is the content. ABC is the content. ABC is the content. Okay. 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 Coming back, I'll clear your doubt in a better programmatic way. Okay. So now, good question actually. Okay. So now let me. Anyone, any idea of what is an array? What is an array?
It's a group of values assigned
Group
to
of values. Yes, group of values. So now if you see, okay, let me just put array into picture. So now, as I've said, str3 is equal to A, B, C. So how these are arranged? These are arranged in an array fashion. Okay, so this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, so now as it contains multiple elements, so whenever I say array 0, 1, 2, and Python, the power of Python is it also supports negative indexing. So this you don't see usually in C or Java or C++. So this is what it is. So now what I'm saying, str3 of 0. So what I was getting A. A again in single quotes. Okay, so means it is telling us a character A. Okay, so str3 of 0. What is str3 of 0 here in this case? str3 of 0 in this case, what it is? It is A, right? Okay, so in the same way, str of 2. str of 2, sorry, str3 of 2.
Yeah, B.
C.
Sorry, C.
C, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So str3 of -2. B. So why -2 is B? Because I've told you, right? So it also supports negative indexing. So this is called negative indexing. And this is positive indexing. Always remember that positive indexing always starts with 0. Okay. So, and it ends at total size minus 1. Total size minus 1. 0 it starts from, and it ends till, it goes till 0 size minus 1. Okay. So negative indexing will definitely start from minus 1, and it goes to the total length in minus, right? Okay. So this is again a powerful thing about Python. Okay. So representation of strings and representation of the representation of array, I mean representation of string in the form of an array using negative indexing also. Okay. So this is what it is. Now I think you understood why these are not included. Clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So next in the sequence we have a list type. So whenever I talk about a list is nothing but a collection of list. Very, very important from data science point of view also. List. So whenever I say list, a list is nothing but list of values. List of values. List of values in the sense list of constants, list of literals, you can say. So whenever I say list, it is collection of all kind of elements. All kind of elements means, okay, let me just have everything now. So let me have an integer. Okay, I'll just directly type. So let me say ls is equal to an integer, and I'll have a floating point number, and I'll have a complex number. I'll have a string. And I'll have a false. False is nothing but a Boolean value, right? Okay. And anything else? Okay, let us be fine. Okay, now what is ls now? Ls is nothing but a list of values. So I can include anything. I can include anything here. Now coming to the construction of this string according to the system. The system takes again this in the format of an array only. Okay, so using the word array is not suitable here because array according to us it will take only homogeneous values. Okay, so but I'll not use this word array here. So list is a collection of values which have the index, So what is the index here? Index always, I told you, starts from 0 and ends. So index always starts from 0 and ends at total size minus 1. So what is the total size of the list here? 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1. This 2, 3, 4, 5. So where it ends up? It ends up at 4. So whenever I say 45, so let me put 98.36, and what is the other value? 3 plus 2j. And what is this? What is the last one? False, right? Yeah, false. Okay. So now, if I want to have all the lists, the solution is I'll just have ls. Now, if I want to have the particular element, okay, ls of 3. So what is ls of 3? Anyone?
It's a complex.
ls of 3 is this one, right? So this is 0.
Oh, okay.
This starts from 0 always. 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is 4. Okay. So now ls of 1, anyone?
98.
98.36. Okay. Now my question is ls of minus 3. What will be ls of minus 3?
The complex one.
Okay, so 0, 1. Okay, let me just go back to here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5, isn't it? So this, so whenever I say ls of -3, what it should be? It should be the complex number. Okay. So now I hope you are clear with the negative indexing also. Okay. So always remember that Python also supports negative indexing for the sequential types. Okay. So next, coming to the properties of a list. So we'll be talking only one or two properties of strings here. So one is list here. Lists are mutable. Lists are mutable. So mutable in the sense I can make some changes here. I can make some changes. So what are the how can you do changes? Okay, now I want to change false to true. Okay, so I want to change this false to true. So what I can do, I can simply write ls of 4 is equal to true. So what I'm doing here, I'm just changing this value to true, because as I've told you, it is mutable. Mutable means it is updatable. Lists in Python are updatable. Updatable. Okay, so that is what is mutability here. So updatable. So whenever I say updatable, so I can simply say, so can anyone say what is false represented? What are the two ways false can be represented? ls of
-1.
ls of -1. Okay, let us use -1. -1 is equal to, so let me put true. And one more thing you have to remember is whenever you are initiating a Boolean call or saying true or false, never use quotes. Okay, so never use, if you use quote, this becomes a string again. So never use quotes when you are using true and false. So, so now what happens with the list? Your list becomes, so what was it previously? It was previously false, right? So now you can see it is true. Okay, means a list is mutable. So mutable nature of the list makes it dynamic. Okay, so makes it dynamic. So why, sir, why we are talking about this mutability means the next sequence that we are going to talk about is a tuple. You can even call it as tuple, no problem. So tuple is something similar to list, but the only, everything is same. Everything is same up to here, but the only difference is tuples are immutable. Tuples are immutable. So whenever I say mutability, immutability, so what is the meaning of mutability? As I told you in the previous case, we can
Update it.
update it. So basically, whenever I am creating a tuple, okay, let me just create a tuple. So first and foremost thing that the difference between a list and a tuple is, so whenever you are creating a list, so you are using a single, I mean, you are using a square bracket. But whenever you are creating a tuple, you need to go for braces, normal braces. So let me use 54. Let me use 36.98, and let me say 2 plus 3j. Let me use commas here. Commas. And let me write false. Okay, never use inverted commas when you are using false and true. Okay, so everything is same. For example, if I'm saying 2, so it is 2, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, now let me change the same thing. TP of 4. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. is equal to, let me try to change it to true. Okay, so what you here you can see, tuple does not support item assignments. That is a basic difference between a list and a tuple. Okay, so whenever I say list, updations can take place. So whenever I say tuple, updations cannot take place. So that is what is mutability and immutability. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to see, next sequence that we are going to see is bytes. So anyone, any idea what is a byte? We are more worried about gigabytes and terabytes, but what is a byte?
Unit of data size.
Sorry?
The unit or how you measure the data, or the size of the data.
How we measure the memory of the data. Okay, so byte is the basic memory unit of programming, you say, or any computer or anything. So what is a bit? Bit is a collection of, bit is nothing but a binary digit, right? Bit is nothing but a binary digit, right? The computers is all about zeros and ones, isn't it? Binary digit, so 0 and 1. So byte is a collection of 8 bits. Okay, so I'll just take back to you, take back you to our calculator. Hope you know this, but let me just give you an idea. So this is called as programmer's calculator. So when you see here byte, okay, so I'll say 14. So 14 is literally converted in this fashion by the computer. Okay, so whenever I say 14, it will be converted by, binary division, right? So that's the format. We don't have to go into the basics. So 14 is literally converted into this format. So this is nothing but collection of 8 bits, which is known as a byte. A byte is a collection of 8 bits. Okay, so why we are talking about here in this is bytes is one of the data types that Python supports. So what bytes contains? So bytes is nothing but list of elements that only contains values from 0 to 255. So it only contains values from 0 to 255. So how this 0 to 255 has come? Okay, so as I've told you, it is a collection of 8 bits, right? 8 bits in the sense 0 to 7. So simply 1 byte. Okay, this is a little bit of basic thing. So I hope every one of you know it, but still. So 1 byte is equal to collection of 8 bits. 8 bits, if I want to convert it into numbers, it is nothing but 2 to the power of 8. So 2 to the power of 8. So whenever I say 2 to the power of 8, so 2 represents the bit that is 0 and 1. This 8 represents the total size. Means so simply to understand in a simple way, how many numbers can be fitted into 1 byte? In 1 byte, I can fit 2 to the power of 8 numbers. Okay, so in 1 byte, how many numbers I can put? In 1 byte, I can fit 2 to the power of 8 numbers. So 2 to the power of 8 comes like 256 numbers. So I can fit 256 numbers here. Okay, so 256 numbers, how sir? It's maybe negative numbers. I'm talking about only integers here, negative numbers, and don't worry about these things. So let's try to understand what is the range of a byte. Okay, so the range of a byte. So in the previous case I was discussing, data type also will give you the range. So this is what is the range and everything. Okay, so how many numbers can be fit in 1 byte? So how many numbers can be fit into 2 bytes? How many numbers can be fit into 4 bytes? So we don't have to worry about 3 bytes because always it gets doubled. 1, 2, 4, 8. Okay, so simply if you look at your memory of your phone, so it will be minimum 8, then 16, then 32. It is all connected. So all of this is connected, right? So so now how many numbers I can have in bytes? Okay, first of all, what is a byte? Bytes data. A byte is nothing but list of elements which only contains numbers from 0 to 256. So for this, the first thing that I have to do here, sir, I have to create a list first. Okay, so let me create a list of only numbers that are between 0 to 255. Okay, first it is a list definitely 10 comma 20 comma 45. So it is now normally a list. How it will be converted? So basically, if I say x is equal to, how to convert explicitly, as I've told you, so bytes of by. Okay, so now type of xby. Okay, bytes. So what is this now? X is equal to, I have, first I said I created a list, and that list I've converted into bytes. So what bytes will allow me? Bytes will allow me only numbers from 0 to 255. Okay, and you also have a byte array. So whenever I say byte array, a byte array is nothing but same, everything is same, but the only thing is it will be updated. For example, okay, the same thing. So let me use byte array here. Let me use byte array here and byte array. So bytes of, sorry. Let me just change all of this. I think I'm not showing this. Okay, so now if you see here, it was bytes previously, and now it is a byte array. So basic difference is bytes cannot be updated, byte array can be updated. So again, mutability and immutability. So it is immutable and it is mutable. Immutable. Okay, so this is about the sequencing types. Sequencing types of our data types. So what all we discussed today. So let me just have a review of everything. We just had an introduction of Python. So then we talked about literals. Then we talked about the variables. Then we talked about the data types, and some of the data types we covered. So we need to, tomorrow we'll be covering sets, mappings, and we'll proceed further. Okay. So we'll be stopping it here today. Hello, Kalyani, Manisha,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and I don't know other person.
Vipul.
Vipul. Hi, Vipul.
Hey.
I'm saying you hi at the end of the session.
Sorry, I mean I joined a few minutes late. Sorry.
Fine. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I hope everyone understood the session. Anyhow, if any suggestions or anything, please let me know.
Yeah, this looks good, Viren. So no
Yeah.
issue from my
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let us end this session today. Okay,
Sure.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have to stop the